Hi students, I hope you are all safe and healthy with your family and friends. Today we are going to discuss in detail about cost accounting 2. Okay, the topic is process costing. What is meant by cost accounting? Let's see the introduction. Cost accounting is nothing but recording, classifying and analyzing all the cost to find out how much cost is spent to produce a product. Say for example, if you produce a chocolate, you need to know how much cost is in need to produce one chocolate. You need to know how much cost is spent to produce one biscuit or one soap. Okay, how much cost is necessary to spend to produce a cake, piece of cake, right? So that is called cost accounting. Okay, then we need to know what is the meaning of a process costing. Process costing is nothing but process costing is a method of costing. Simply says process costing is used when the same product is made continuously goes through on several products. Say for example, if you prepare the cake at one stage, no, it has several stages. If you made a chocolate, if you have a chocolate manufacturing industries, you can make a chocolate at one stage, no, it has several processes. So, say for example, you need to roasting the cocoa bean, right? Then another stage, it is grind well, and we added the ingredients like sugar, butter, and flavoring. Added the flavor for taste and smell. Okay, then it grinds well, and heating it up and molding into the chocolate mold. Then it it comes to the packaging process. Okay, so it has lots of stages, lots of a process that is called. Each process has the cost, how much cost is spent for every process, that is called process costing, right? Then let's come to characteristics of a process costing. There are 7 most important characteristics of process costing. Let's see one by one. The first character is a continuous production. The production runs goes on continuously. The works goes on day and night without stopping. The same product made continuously goes through several processes. That is called continuous production. Say for example, if you see the sugar manufacturing industries, the sugar they produces the sugars day and night. If you take the soap manufacturing industries, they produce soaps daily. If you take the chocolate manufacturing industries, they produce a chocolate continuously, daily, regularly, without stopping. That is called continuous production, right? Let's come to cost center in each process. Listen, when production has many stages, okay, and if you take the sugar industries, production has many stages. How can you find out each how can you calculate the cost for at the end of the each stage? By treating each process is a cost center. Each process has its own and separate cost accounting system. I will explain you with a suitable example. Let's take the soap in manufacturing industries. Okay, in process 1, they are mixing oil and chemical. They spend cost amount is 10,000 rupees. So at the end of the cost process 1, they entered 10,000 rupees spending for oil and chemical. In process 2, they mixing the soap, they mixing and heating and molding the soap. They spending amount is 8,000 rupees. So the process 2, in process 2, 8,000 rupees entered into the cost accounting register for heating and molding the soap. Then let's come to process 3 or stage 3 or process C. They packaging the soap. They spend cost amount is 4,000 rupees. So in process 3, enter into the cost accounting register 4,000 rupees for packaging the soap. So each and every process has its own and separate cost center, cost accounting register, cost accounting system. Hence proved. Okay, let's come to third character, that is standardized product. Okay, what is meant by standardized product? I will explain you with a suitable example. Do all soaps in the branded company looks different? No. Why? Why? Because it's a standardized product. What is meant by standardized product? A standardized product is nothing but which has standard or identical size, standardized shape, standardized quality, standardized design. So standardized product cannot be different from one product to another product. Their looks, shapes, designs, quality and size is standardized. Okay, so I will explain you with a suitable example. Do you all know about the Mysore sandal soap? Okay, when you look the Mysore sandal soap has the standardized size, standard size, identical quality and fragrance, smells and smoothing and designs. All are same, looks same. It cannot be different from one's Mysore sandal soap to another Mysore sandal soap. That is called standardized product. Okay, let's come to output of one is equal to input of the next. Okay, is the product completed at one stage? No. Then if the product completed in one stage, process 1, what happened? What happened if the process 1 completed? What happened next? If the process 1 completed, that output is goes in, becomes the input of the next product, next process. Okay, I will explain you with a suitable example. We have the sugar manufacturing company. Okay, in sugar manufacturing company, in process 1, sugar cans are grinding. At the end of the process 1, what output we received? We got sugar juice, right? Okay, the output of the first process 1 is we got what? The sugar juice after grinding the sugar can. Okay, then that output of the sugar juice is transferred to the process 2 as the input. Got it? So output of the one is equal or transfer to the input of the next. Then the output of the process 1 sugar juice is to become an input of the process 2. In process 2, the sugar can is purifying process goes on. Okay, after purifying, after work done, what happened? At the end of the process 2, at the end of the process 2, the output is clean juice, pure juice. We have what? Pure juice. Okay, at the end of the process, what is the output we got? Pure juice or cleaned sugar juice. Okay, then that cleaned sugar, pure juice or cleaned sugar juice is transferred to process 3 as an input. It is transferred, it is converted into the next process as an input. The output of the first process before process is converted into the next process as what? Input. In the third process, the input of the cleaned juice or pure sugar juice is caramelizing. Okay, crystallization. Crystallization process goes on where? Process 3. After end of the crystallization, what happened? The work is done. Crystallization is done in the process 3. What happened? What is the output? We have the sugar. Okay, so what we know from this point, the output of the first process is equal to the input of the next process. Hence proved. Okay, let's come to transfer of cost. So here, before what we know, the output of the first process or 1 is equal to the next input of the next process. Okay, when the output moves to the next process. What about the cost? The cost stays behind? No. What happens to the cost? Cost also goes along with the output to the next process. Got it? I'll explain you with a suitable example. If you have the soap manufacturing company, okay. So here we have in first process the raw material cost is 5,000 rupees and direct wages 3,000 rupees and the direct expenses 2,000 rupees. Okay, what is the total cost of the first process? The total cost of the first process is 10,000 rupees. Okay, what is the output? The first process we have the soap manufacturing company. Okay, industries. The Ritika sound correct. The soap manufacturing company. The first process is we have the semi-finished soap. So what is the output? We have semi-finished soap. What is the total cost? 10,000 rupees. At the end of the first process, we spend how much rupees? 10,000 rupees. 3,000 rupees raw material, 2,000 rupees for direct expenses, 3,000 rupees for direct wages. Totally, we spend 10,000 rupees in first process. Then what we have, the semi-finished soap is transferred to the input or as an input of the second process. Okay, along with the output, the total cost of the first process also goes along with that output. Okay, so what we know about it, transfer of cost. Whenever the output transfer from first process to next process, the cost also goes along with that output to the next process. Got it? Let's come to process loss. What is meant by process loss? I will explain you clearly. Raw materials goes on in several processes, right? At the end of the process, we get 100% output? No. Why? Because of process loss. Okay, process loss are divided into two types: normal loss, abnormal loss. Okay, I will explain you clearly for process loss. Let's take the normal loss. Okay, if you have what? Soap manufacturing industries. Okay, we have the items like what? Oils and chemical. Okay, 1,000 kgs both together. The input we give how much? 1,000 kgs of, for oil and chemical for manufacturing what? Soap. Okay. At the end of the process, what is the output we got? 9,950 kgs of soap. How much input we introduced? 1,000 kgs of input. How much output we got? 950 kgs of soap. How much loss we received? 50 kgs. That is called process loss. Okay. How can it happen? Because while heating the soap, mixing and grinding the lots of ingredients and mixing the chemical with oils, okay, during evaporation, during molding, while shrinking, we get the wastages, we get the scraps. Okay, this and all we collectively called as a process loss. So we introduced 1,000 kgs of input. After the process completed, we get 950 kgs of soaps. So in between, what is the difference between 50 kgs? That 50 kgs is the process loss. Okay, what is meant by normal loss? Normal loss happens because of wastages, because of while heating evaporation, while shrinking the product, we get the normal loss unavoidably and expected under normal condition. What is meant by abnormal loss? Abnormal losses happens while processing due to carelessness, due to fire, due to accidents. These and all collectively called as a normal loss. Okay, this is so you know very well about the process loss. Let's come to last point, seventh point, equivalent production. What is meant by equivalent production? If at the end of the unit we have the, say for the first process we have semi-finished unit, right? Okay, in semi-finished unit, how can we treat it as we can take it as a fully finished unit? If we have a unit, it has a semi-finished or partially completed unit. How it treated as a fully completed unit? No, it cannot be treated as a fully completed unit because it's a semi-finished product. We have the semi-finished goods. So semi-finished goods, how can we calculate the cost? Equivalent production. We calculate the cost is a equivalent production. What is meant by equivalent production? Listen, I will explain you with a clear example. Equivalent semi-finished product is equal to the completed equivalent finished product. Let's say the example, we have 10 semi-finished product. How can we equal it? We can equal it into a 5 completed or 5 finished product. If we have the 20 semi-finished unit, how can we equalize the production? We have 20 semi-finished unit. We can convert it into 10 fully finished unit. Okay, so I hope you understand about what is meant by cost accounting. Okay, what is meant by process costing. What are the characteristics of 7 characteristics of process costing? Okay, after discussing detail about the characteristics of a process costing, now we are going to discuss in detail about the advantages of process costing. So there are 5 most important advantages of a process costing. The first advantage is frequent cost calculation. How can you, in continuous production, how can you find out the cost? Should we wait till the end of the year? Should we wait to calculate cost for till the end of the year, accounting year? No, we can't wait till the end of the accounting year to find the cost of the production, because in process costing, even though it's a continuous production, we can calculate the cost of production very easily, frequently, daily, weekly, monthly. Say for example, if you run the soap manufacturing industries, on Monday the process once a cost of a production is 50,000 rupees. The output is 10,000 soaps. Okay, so how can you calculate it on Monday's cost of production in unit wise? Per unit you can calculate cost of per unit is total cost divided by output. Okay, on Monday total cost is 50,000 rupees, output soap is 10,000 soaps. Okay, output. So after cancel it, the cost per unit is 5 rupees. Okay, it's a very easy to calculate the cost frequently. Okay, on Monday, Tuesday, daily basis and weekly basis and monthly basis in process costing. The next advantage is better cost control. Okay, so how can you control the cost in better way? How can the companies prevent wastages, prevent from wastages and overspending? So in process costing helps cost control very effectively. In how can it happens? It is very simple. In process costing, they calculated cost in process wise. Okay, say for example, on Tuesday the process once expected raw material 10,000 rupees. Okay, but actually they spent raw material 11,000 rupees. Okay, what happened? Immediately they found what happens that 1,000 rupees they spend extra for raw material. Immediately noted, and management takes steps to reduce the wastages. Okay, so in process costing helps to control the cost effectively. Okay, let's come to the next advantage, simple and economical. Is the process costing complicated or and costly to maintain? No, it's very simple. In process costing, to maintain the process costing is very simple and economical. So how can you calculate it in complicated way? No. It's very costly? No. Because in each and every process, at the end of the every process, the total cost divided by output, we can easily calculate the cost per unit. Okay, so it is very simply and economically, it reduces time, efforts and cost accounting cost. Okay, let's come to fourth advantage is easy average cost. What is meant by easy average cost? How can you calculate it? In continuous production? How can you calculate the average cost? It's very easy for process costing. How can you calculate it? In process costing, we can easily calculate the average cost. In process wise, process 1 spends total cost is 10,000 rupees, the output is 1,000 rupees. How can you find out the average cost for process 1? After cancel it, it is very easy. What is the cost per unit formula? Cost per unit equal to total cost divided by output. Total cost is 10,000 rupees, output is 1,000 rupees. After cancel it, you got 10 rupees. So average cost per unit is 10,000 rupees. So process costing is, it is very easy to find out the average cost. Okay. Let's come to last and fifth point, that is accurate inventory valuation. It's in process costing provides accurate inventory valuation. It provides semi-finished products and finished products. Okay, yeah. In what way? In it collecting the cost in process wise. Each process wise, each and every process wise, they collect the cost to provide the inventory valuation. Okay, say for example, the output is process cost, process 1's total cost is 10,000 rupees, output is 950 kgs, 950 units, and its scrap value is 500 rupees, and the normal loss is 50 units. Okay, and it can use the equivalent to production. Okay, normal loss, abnormal loss, everything we can calculate through process costing. Okay, so in process costing provides accurate and inventory valuation easily. Okay, thank you. So after discussing in detail about the advantages of a process costing, now we are going to discuss in detail about the disadvantages of process costing. Okay, so the first disadvantages is historical cost. So process costing, historical cost means equal to past cost. Okay, listen, historical cost helps the management to take the decisions immediately. Not always, it's impossible, because historical cost equal to past cost. Okay, listen, I will explain you with a suitable example. In last month you spent process 10,000 rupees and you introduced input is 1,000 units. Okay, so current month, this month, today we are going to buy the raw material for raw material price is 20% increases. So the historical cost does not reflect the current today's market price. Okay, so let's come to the next disadvantage. Inefficiency in process not easily detected. In process costing, there are going on continuous production. Okay, so we cannot easily find out which worker is inefficiency. They only calculated the cost. Each and every process calculated only accumulated cost only. It cannot calculate it, cannot to find out. It's very difficult to find out the inefficiency worker. I will explain you in process with example. In process 1, spend total cost 10,000 rupees and introduce 1,000 inputs. Okay, so there are 2 workers or inefficiency. Because of a 2 workers inefficiency, you need to spend the extra cost 500 rupees and you need to spend the extra time because of the inefficiency worker. Okay, so that the extra 500 rupees cost will be calculated. How can you calculate the extra 500 rupees cost because of the inefficiency worker? It will be calculated to the overall processes. First you need first process. Okay, it becomes calculated into you will get 50 paise per unit. Okay, so that 500 rupees extra cost will be calculated to overall process one only, not goes to the inefficiency individuals. Okay, so it is very difficult to find the inefficiency individual in process costing. Okay, let's come to later process affected by the earlier process. Yes, it's true. Later process affected by the earlier process. In process 1, you have error machine and poor quality. Okay, it's the next process will be affected because of the earlier process. I will explain you with a clear example. Process 1 produces 1000 units, but 100 units were poor quality. Okay, but it's sent to next process 2. Process 1 produces 1000 units. From the 1000 units, 100 unit were poor quality. Even though this can't find, it goes to the second process. In second process, it takes extra time and they spend the extra cost because of to fixing the error and a poor quality, to removing the poor quality and the error to for they spend in process to spend the extra time and the extra cost because of the earlier process. Why? Because of the later process affected by earlier process. Okay, let's come to the fourth disadvantages. Difficulties to judge workers efficiency. Listen, if you can't detect the inefficiency, similarly you can't detect the efficient worker in process costing. Okay, you can't detect the inefficiency worker, and as well as you cannot, it is very it is impossible to find out, it is impossible to judge the efficiency workers. So it only calculated process level cost only. It measures only process level cost. It cannot measure the qualified individual's talent in the process costing. I will explain you with example. In process 1, there are 5 workers. So the total wages 5,000 rupees. Output is 1,000 rupees. What is per cost per unit? Total wages divided by output. 5,000 divided by 1,000. You will get cost per unit is 5 rupees for each unit. You cannot, there is a one worker is working very slowly. What happened? You can take extra time, you will spend extra cost for poor performer, slow worker. Okay, so what you from this what you get, you will get difficulties to judge the workers efficiency. It is in process costing, it is very difficult to detect the inefficiency workers, it is very difficult to judge the efficiency workers. So what process costing only gives, each process cost only, not judge the qualified individual, efficient individual, not detect the inefficiency individual. Got it? So these are the 4 disadvantages of process costing. Then finally we see the format of the process costing. Okay, so process 1 account, all the cost you have to enter into the debtor side. Say for example, direct material, and you can say raw material, direct labor, direct wages, indirect wages, and the extra chargeable expenses and over factory overheads all goes to debtor side. All the cost, all the expenses goes to debtor side. Okay, and the input you have to enter on debtor side, and total output under normal losses, closing stock, Okay, after balancing the figure, you are going to enter on creditor side. Then the output transfer into the next process. Okay, opening stock goes on debtor side, closing stock you are going to enter on creditor side. Okay, at the um, input unit you are going to enter on debtor side, output always enter on creditor side. Okay, each and every output of the each process will be transferred as the input into the next process up to where, till end of the finished process. Okay, finished product. Okay, so this is the format for process costing. Do you have any doubt? Please comment it in the comment box. I'm always ready to clear your doubt. Okay, thank